Again, there is a very terrifying figure in the public space right now.
He cries a lot. He's a very sensitive guy.
Well, he's an
intellectual.
I was going to give a really mean, like over the top intro, but yes, yeah. So Olivia Wilde is basing a character on Don't Worry, Darling, on the evil conservative right-wing mastermind known as Jordan Peterson.
I'm just picturing him in like low light. He's got his hands like this. He turns around.
Okay.
It's me.
I want to point out that the first thing I thought of when I read this, I said, I'm going to go look for a clip of Jordan Peterson, and I bet you I can find a clip of him being genuinely emotional about a topic that anybody in their right mind would consider, fair enough to be
completely
discussing.
benign.
Completely benign. It was literally his most recent video, and we're going to watch it. So first we're going to read what she thinks of Jordan Peterson, and then, folks, we're going to watch this video quickly. So it says, there's been a lot of press around the upcoming Olivia Wilde directed movie, Don't Worry, Darling. Yes, and all the press is about stuff that has nothing to do with the movie. Literally all the comments on the most IndieWire cinema blend of sites, which are that should be the most like fair to her, right? Are all like, can this movie just come out and flop so we can stop talking about it? Because nobody's going to go see this. Nobody cares. So it says, don't worry. So it says, it's not all been good. Casting choices aside, they're referring to Shia LaBeouf. Wilde recently revealed that one of the characters in the movie is based on the controversial public figure Jordan Peterson. In a recent interview by Maggie Gyllenhaal, oh my God, from Interview Magazine, they went very far on the name there. It's very clever. A Wilde revealed that Chris Pine's character was Peterson inspired. For the uninitiated, Peterson is a Canadian clinical psychologist, professor, and author who captured everyone's attention due to his controversial stances on gender, race, and sex. What do you think those controversial takes are?
Actually not true either. It was his controversial stance on free speech.
On pronouns, and
Depends on who you ask.
Coerced speech.
Basically, he's like, I don't have a problem calling you by your pronouns. I just don't feel like you have the right to compel me to call you by something.
Yeah, coercive speech.
Totally unreasonable position, ladies and gentlemen.
His takes that are seen as political are more so philosophical because that is his wheelhouse and what he is an expert on speaking about. So, now he's like the closest thing we have to like a public intellectual.
Yes. So it says, so this is what she says. Peterson is also a favorite thought figure for incels. Oh, no. Take that, incels.
Do you remember when no one knew what that term meant or had ever heard of it in their life? Because I remember.
They literally go, they say.
I miss it. I miss when no one knew what that word meant and had ever heard it in their life.
And they put it in parentheses and explain to you, just in case you don't know. They say involuntary celibates, aka young men online who are hostile towards women because they can't attract any. Well, that's a weird way of proving that women have all the power in the sexual dichotomy of our dynamic society. Like, that literally proves that women, no matter who you are, can have a man anytime they want. Guys, not so much. Wilde called the public figure terrifying. Gyllenhaal's also got a lesson in
terrifying. Imagine
fact,
Jordan Peterson walks into a room and someone is in the corner just cowering in fear, like trembling.
We're gonna watch a clip of this extremely terrifying person. Are you ready?
Let's go.
All right, here we go.
Let's refresh. Than you are. You could be so much more than you are, that the boundaries of that are unimaginable. That's a way better message to someone who's in despair. Because what? You're okay the way you are, miserable, suicidal, nihilistic, hopeless, amotivated, resentful. That's no time for, it's no time for a maternal embrace. It is in a sense, because there's comfort in that, but mostly what that's time for is the clarion call to maturity. It's like, no. No, most of you has to go, man, but the best of you, it could come forward, and that best is there. That's way better. And so that's another thing that a father and a husband can offer, and to the wife too, It's many women haven't had a good relationship with a man And they need that masculine spirit. That would be the animus within, from the Jungian perspective. They need that masculine spirit to say to them, you've got the hero within as well, and that you can pursue that.
I know I'm terrified.
So he's almost choking up, and his message is apolitical, and it's also secular. It says...
And positive to men and women.
It's completely uncontroversial and focused on, like, really self-improvement.
Hail lobster.
It's self-actualization. But he is a terrifying, insane man.
So she says,
according to Olivia Wilde.
This is her interview. She says, terrifying. We based the character on this insane man, Jordan Peterson, who is this pseudo-intellectual hero to the incel community. You know, incels.
The
and
incels.
She says, no. And she says, they're basically disenfranchised, mostly white men who believe that they are entitled to sex from women. All right. I can't picture if Gyllenhaal's like, what is this chick talking about? Or if she actually agrees with her. She says, and they believe that society has now robbed them. The idea of feminism is working against nature, and that we must put it back into its correct place. Well, they must be psyched. Things are going really well for them, she says, Gyllenhaal. So I love that they both take their stabs at them from the height of the ivory tower. Right. Literally from the height. Everything in our society.
Why do you think you're able to make a movie, Olivia Wilde?
Yes. Everything in our society runs contrary to what Jordan Peterson is talking about. And this lady is talking about it in a way as if he is somehow the thought leader, when every aspect of our society portrays an image of men that all of their inherent traits are bad.
So I asked the question earlier, why was the marketing campaign for Rings of Power so heavy-handed in its like social and political messaging? Is it because they're so far up their own asses that they think that resonates with people? And I think that might be the case. Yeah, like,
they're just clueless.
They really have no idea what ordinary people think of them.
I think it's a combination of that, and they think this will sell the movie better than the movie. That there's a certain segment of the population that will say, like, she's right.
Is the wine ant population big enough to...
I don't think it's big enough, but I think...
help you make a profit?
I think they think that it
Marvel
is.
thinks it is. Did you see Twerking She-Hulk?
Yeah.
They think...
Can we show that?
I don't know if it will...
or is that going to copyright claim us?
That might copyright claim us, in the Twitter one didn't...
Basically, there's a clip from She-Hulk of She-Hulk is twerking with Megan Thee Stallion, and she says, like, I will kill for you, Megan Thee Stallion.
Watch, I want you to go watch.
Because that's what wine ants want to see on television these days.
Wine ants? Oh, wine ants.
Wine ants, yes.
Yeah.
When this
I was
is...
thinking like finance the W, and I was like...
No.
This is
like
the
whining.
thing where we lost these mediums. Superheroes are gone. Zach from Comics Matter did a video where he's like, you don't get them back now. Superheroes belong to your aunt and your mom and your grandma. You don't get them back. They are now mainstream, and you don't come back from that. You have to create your own stuff, because these characters are now going to be debased down to the period of being nothing more than fodder. Like he actually had this really interesting description of how he described She-Hulk. He goes, She-Hulk is actually just it's a collection of all the worst elements that made you cringe about the Marvel movies, but were just kind of happening in passing. All those bad jokes that were just kind of thrown in there that you didn't really like, but that didn't ruin the movie. That's what all of it is now.
By the way, this week, I think with Hannah Claire, we were discussing the way that the MCU markets female superheroes, and we didn't really understand it as far as like the age demographic and gender that they are going for to appeal to. And we mentioned that they should like make maybe an eyeshadow palette that is based on one of the female superheroes in the MCU. And they actually did that with She-Hulk. I sent you the promotional image for the She-Hulk eyeshadow palette from Urban Decay.
They want to
and
be a
all of the
lifestyle
shade
brand.
names are like basically you go girl feminist. Like there's a green shade called Hulk out, and then one of them is like,
oh my God, Hulk
case
out.
closed.
Oh my God,
or like
the best part of that is like,
these weren't the actual names, but like order in the court, like stuff like that. It's like you're trying to make Legally Blonde, except Legally Blonde landed and was like some sentimental for people because Elle Woods is a woman.
Yeah.
And She-Hulk is trying to be everything a man can be and better.
Yeah.
I can do everything you can do better.
Yep. There's a really funny article with the writer of the show where they're like, we were gonna have like this long overarching plot of like a trial with Abomination, and then we realized we didn't know how to write law scenes. They're like, we just couldn't do that, so they weren't able to do that. So I just want to point out that this is not the first time this has happened. If you guys remember Ta-Nehisi Coates, the whole Hail Lobster thing comes from Ta-Nehisi Coates turning Jordan Peterson into the Red Skull, basically, where he starts like his own program to help disenfranchised men. So it says this is from last year when they talked about. And
how dare he try to send a positive message to the exact cohort of people that they're complaining about.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, when you're like, there's nothing to me more violent and terrifying than the idea of telling a bunch of guys to clean their room.
She's complaining that the so-called incels are blaming women for their shortcomings, while one of the main principles of Jordan Peterson's like life philosophy is accountability for yourself.
Correct.
Exactly.
That is what has always driven me nuts about this, is especially with the Ta-Nehisi Coates thing, is that the idea, the image that they must portray of him is that he is telling the young men, you're right, you've been wronged. And while there may be an element of that to it, he says, you're right, you've been wronged. The next step is by yourself. You have to make yourself better. How many times
you have to forgive people?
You have to forgive
that
people.
was one of the biggest things that resonated with people.
You know,
about
like how many times
Peterson.
they say, like, there's a lot of people that are like, I haven't found my person. It's like, well, what are you bringing to the table, right? Like, what have you brought to the table? And the reason that they have to misrepresent that, and that they do not like this message where you say, like, wouldn't they want somebody telling those young men that? No, because they must have that boogeyman.
And they're also not listening.
Yeah.
No, they know. I think she knows 100% what she's saying.
I don't.
know.
I don't think she's read
Because
anything.
Olivia Wilde is exactly like the divorcee, bitter, Harry Styles.
I'm not saying she's not
loving feminist.
She doesn't believe what she's saying, but I think she would tell you to your face she doesn't want those people to be better or have a better life.
I see.
Yeah.
I see what you mean.
She wants them, because they are basing their marketing campaigns on the fact that those people exist in their mind.
All right, let's do super chats.
Okay. That got me. What annoys me the most is like that she's dating Harry Styles, who is deemed to be like the celebrity redefining masculinity and like defying toxic masculinity, showing men that they can express themselves and their feelings.
They don't like that. They don't want you to actually be like that in the real world. I'm sorry. Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.